I'm just very, very excited to have Brian on stage today. Brian, how are you doing today, brother? Can you hear me?
I am awesome. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm coming to you from Bozeman, Montana. And no, we're doing great. It's a pleasure to be talking with you and the audience today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. I'm very excited to talk to you. And Brian, for the folks who know you, can you please introduce yourself? Let us know, what your company is, and essentially what is PortX Logistics.
Sure. I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version so I don't go on for the whole hour. But so PortX Logistics was founded October 2nd of 2017. We specialize in drayage, transloading, and over-the-road trucking. Often it's said that we're the easy button for hauling containerized cargo 2,000 miles in 2 days, and we do that through our standard operating procedures, and we have it all tracked on our awesome technology platform called Turvo. So again, specializing in expediting containerized cargo, but it comes in multiple modes, the drayage, the transloading, and the trucking.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving us that foundation, brother. All right. So 2017. That is, I feel like you've done a lot since then. That's less than 5 years, and I feel like you've accomplished a lot. What do you attribute that right there to?
Well, I'm still fairly young, but I have a lot of experience. I started super young in the industry. I founded a company at 23, sold it by the time I was 30. Worked doing some consulting work within the industry. So when we started PortX, we had some very common goals from the leadership team that we wanted to do. We had 4 foundational pillars: culture, service, tech, and trucks. We knew there was a better way to do things internally and externally, better way to treat our people, better way to treat the customers. And for all of us at PortX, we work really, really hard. But at the end of the day, if you're going to put in 10 to 12 hours, we want to have fun, and we want to create an enjoyable experience both internally and externally. And by following those pillars and providing great service, but also making it a little bit light and fun, we've had, we've just had great success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. I did want to come back to talk about the culture, but I wanted to ask this first. So when you did open your doors in 2017, was your goal to be a carrier, or broker? What was the very first thing you wanted to do?
Well, I think something that we're really proud of is we wrote our business plan. It wasn't overly lengthy. Maybe it was 12, 15 pages. But when we started, we knew that we needed some things. And the first thing that we needed was at least a couple of trucks. Our business model was to be asset light and to do a lot of brokerage work. However, we knew to be considered a primary vendor for many of the customers that we wanted to deal with, having our own fleet is really important. So today we run 25 plus trucks. We do have some of our own chassis. We're primarily in just a couple of ports, and then we're feeding transload warehouses and feeding the over-the-road model. So, we've stayed very true to that, being asset light. On day one, we had 1 truck.
Yes, sir.
But we knew we needed 1 to get started.
Yes, sir. You got to have that active MC so that you can, speak with your chest out. So, no, I definitely hear you there. And you have ballooned to 25 plus units. So, no, that's awesome. In 5 years, that's how many employees?
So we have about 50 office employees between accounting and brokerage. And then we have approximately the 25 drivers on board. So in total, we have probably about 75 employees, and our total revenue this year we expect to be between $200 and $250 million. So we've grown very, very swiftly. And it's been because of our concentration on those core pillars: culture, service, tech, and trucks. Take care of the people internally and externally.
Yes, sir. Look, man, before we move on, I definitely have to say kudos to you and the team. Going from $0 to projecting upwards of 250 million in 5 years, I say that's a job well done, and it needs to be, celebrated. So congratulations to that. And even in that same breath, you speak about culture. That is very important. And everything that I've seen about people from your organization, they're excited. They're very excited to be working there. Always bragging about what they're able to do in their downtime, coupled with the type of experiences they get to have at some of your offsite locations. Why did you feel as though culture and pouring into your people was going to be the right move when you started this company?
One of the things I always talk about with the leadership team, and we just had a little convo with this yesterday, was human capital. I'm very proud of my career. I think I'm good at what I do, but there's only one BK. So I can only get 100% of me. And even if we can only get 90 or 95% of everybody else that we have on board, that human capital is super important. If you've got 50 people doing 90%, you've got 4,500% of what BK can do on his own. And I recognize that very early on in my career, and it's always been a focus of, we need more people, but you need those people to be, happy and engaged and effective. And I think we do a really good job of that. And, we're rated as one of the great places to work. There's a certification that you can get. And I do think we've got 90+% engagement out of all of our employees. And that's an A. If you're in the 90s on your test at school, you're getting an A. And I tell everybody, everybody wants to get 100 or they're down when something doesn't go the right way, but you got to have some perspective too. And if you're doing 90+, you're doing good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is awesome. Continuing on the culture, you guys do this one thing that I thought was very, very, I think it's awesome. Bingo, when you guys highlight the employees, can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, that came from one of our original members, Adam Cunningham, and he would always walk around the office saying bingo, and we kind of adopted that, and it started as, an accolade, and a customer, an employee. So we just kept this bingo file of all these accolades that we were racking up week after week, and then we started, our employee of the month is called the bingo award winner, and that's somebody that has done something, outstanding to help the customer experience. And or, part of winning a bingo and part of what we consider bingos is random acts of kindness. And that really ties back to our culture. And that could be sending somebody a card, going out of your way to help somebody. And we do that both internally and externally. And it really resonates and helps us, one, be fulfilled, and two, grow the business.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do you feel like you've gained customers that you can, tangibly track back to some type of altruism of giving back or just kindness? Do you think that you can track it back to something like that?
We could definitely track some of it. I definitely know there's customers that have seen the things that we do, and some of it be on LinkedIn, some of it, maybe they were a little bit edgy and maybe they had some crap going on in their home life, whatever. And then they've gotten one of our cards that our team members send out every week. And all of a sudden the resistance just drops, and they're like, oh, well, these are just humans on the other end trying to do good like I am. And that partnership can blossom at that point because they're just looking at us as like humans trying to do good, right? And it's not like, this blood-sucking business that's trying to just fleece me for all the work that I've got.
Right. No, I hear you there, brother. Definitely hear you there. And, even just to go back to 5 years of being in business, or just shy of 5 years, and, growing to almost 80 employees total, and just everything that you're doing. I'm in a spot where I opened a company about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago. So Atlanta Dispatch LLC, and I'm in the process of building my company, and I'm hiring my employees. And I'm in a spot where, just like you, I want that mission to be all about, just positivity, giving back. And I've opened up to my employees about input on the mission statement because, you want to have people buy into the mission statement. You make them a part of the process. Is that something that you guys do with your leadership team, maybe on some retreats or something of that nature?
Yeah, we do a couple retreats a year. And first, I'll start with one of our missions when I started it with our foundational group is we always talk about changing people's lives and building an aspirational brand, which sounds absolutely ludicrous in trucking, right? Like, how can it be aspirational and how can people want to be associated with you? But by doing cool things, by being nice, by, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, we have created that. And we do have our retreats, leadership retreats, both winter and summer. So every 6 months. The winter one is not camping outdoors, which I've promoted, but nobody else is up for. But the summer one, we go to the mountains of Montana and we hike, could be 10 to 18 miles. We spend 3 days and 2 nights outdoors in the elements, in the wild with grizzly bears. And, people are like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you go to like some fancy resort or, restaurant or do it? And I equate it to, not everybody agrees with me on this, but I equate it to, it's really hard to start a successful business, to create a brand, to be really successful. And you need preparation, and you need perseverance, and you need follow through. And these retreats, you can't just show up and take your backpack and walk 8.5 miles up a mountain and sleep outside for 2 days. There's some preparation that goes along with it.
Yes, sir.
Physically, you have to be prepared. Mentally, you have to be prepared. You've got to have fire starter, knives, everything that you might need to survive out there. And I really equate that to business. It's hard, and it's supposed to be hard, because if it was easy, everybody would do it and everybody would be successful.
Agreed. Oh man, I think that puts it in perspective right there. I wasn't even expecting you to take it from the preparatory, being prepared, and how that puts your mind in a certain place. But you're right, to get to the place where you guys are trying to grow. I can see how even having that as the onset, that's the prerequisite, would definitely put you in a space to do some great things once you all get there. So no, that's awesome, man. Okay, cool. So you guys recently had an acquisition. It might have been in January. What was that about, and what does it allow you to do that Port X wasn't doing prior to?
Yeah, so it goes back to the culture and relationships and treating people the right way. And we bought one of our vendors. So we were a good customer and somebody that they had said, that those are some good human beings that I want to be associated with. And so they came to us, and Dale had come to us. He owned a company, a small drayage company in Denver with 12 trucks. And he's like, I'm getting older. I'm looking to exit. My nephew is still here. Would you be interested in our business? And I was like, Dale, we're certainly interested. Your nephew's great. Charlie's awesome. Your drivers are awesome. Tell me what you want. Let's work out a deal. But that came to us. We didn't have to go to it because we were treating them well. So what does it allow us to do? It allows us to grow our asset footprint. It helps us deal with some of our key customers in that market where they've got kind of big distribution centers, rinse and repeat type business. It also, we're able to work with them and the new leadership team to acquire a bigger yard, which we can park about 80 containers. So that allows for pre-pull, yard storage revenue to be accrued. And for us, we can deliver those containers on demand to the customers, because many customers, as you and your audience knows, like, it's not first come, first serve anymore. These are all by appointments. There's labor shortages. And to have that yard be able to deliver on demand was really crucial for some of our big customers.
Yes, sir. You know what? You mentioned something that also goes back to what a recent guest said while on stage, is that, if you want things to be transactional, the other party is going to treat you transactional. So, like, if you're only doing a service and expecting compensation, and that be it, well, you're going to get treated that way. But when you want to grow the relationship and build the relationship, you just invest into that other organization. You show what type of person you are and how good you want to be, and how much you want to build the relationship, and it opens you up to different opportunities. And it sounds like that's how that Denver Express situation came to you. And I just think that's great. I mean, that's where I'm at in my career as well. It's just being open. But I say all that to say that right there gave you the ability to get that yard. And, to do a pre-pull, is that how you can offer the no demurrage guarantee? And while you answer that, can you also tell the folks who might not know, what is demurrage?
Yeah, so demurrage would be when a container is left at a port or a rail ramp longer than the allowable free time from the steamship line. So generally, depending on your agreement with your steamship lines, and this is based upon the BCO or the freight forwarder. This is not us as a trucker, but their negotiations. You generally get 5 free days at the port, and you get 2 free days at a rail ramp. Now it's almost down to 1 free day at a rail ramp. So if you don't have that yard space and your customer can't accept the cargo due to labor or appointment situations, they're going to accrue on average $150 to $200 a day in demurrage. So if we can pre-pull it and hold it in a yard and maybe charge $40 or $50 a day for yard storage instead of $150 for sitting at the port, we help our customers save money, what we call soft costs. So are we the cheapest trucker or drayage provider? Not necessarily, but if we can tamp down those soft costs, which in some instances for customers has been millions of dollars a year, we're a huge value add, and it's a huge benefit to our customers, even though we might be charging a higher trucking rate.
Right. It sounds like because they might be able to get more services, with you guys. So in the long run, it saves in convenience versus maybe the individual costs broken down.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. So let me ask this then. When it comes back to, folks who just want to be involved and maybe even move loads for you guys, what are some of the things that you would want to see in a carrier before you would, give them the good freight, not the stuff that, it's hard to get covered, but to give them the good freight? What would you need a carrier to show that they're willing to do in order to do that?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we try to get good freight, not like super over heavy, really restrictive. So we try to get good freight, but in general, we need somebody that has an MC that's a year old. We do our due diligence on things like Carrier 411 and make sure that we're checking credentials and that there's no bad reports. We need to make sure that the insurance is up to date. We have an override insurance to help with many customer demands and contracts. So in general, our carriers need to have 100,000 of cargo liability. And then we want some buy-in, to what we're doing with our SOPs, our standard operating procedures, with proactive communication and tracking those containers, and making sure that they're delivered in a timely basis. If you're in the drayage world, or if you want to be in the drayage world, one of the the barriers to entry is you need a UIIA interchange agreement so that you can haul these steamship line containers and be able to pick up somebody else's containers. That's what's very different with containerized cargo versus dry van cargo, is you're actually picking up somebody else's equipment.
Right. Yep. Yes, sir. You do have to have that endorsement. You have to be registered with that organization and have that, the UIIE1 endorsement on your insurance?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you bringing that up. And look, this is something that I don't know I don't do too much port work myself, but I'm going to unveil this. And if you can fill in the blanks, I would appreciate it. So I have a broker who is also, they have their own MC as a carrier as well. So people who want to move freight for them or containers out of a port, they don't have to do something like they call a pin in. Like they don't have to get pinned in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And so again, I am not the nitty gritty in every single.
It's all good. It's all good.
But in Savannah, for example, you're down there in Georgia. You need. So if you're going to go pick up a container tomorrow in Savannah, you have to get and acquire the PIN code from the Georgia Ports Authority to go pick up your container tomorrow. So there's no appointments required at the GPA or the Georgia Ports Authority, but you do need to get that PIN the day before. So when the driver gets to the gate, he's going to type in the PIN, which is basically his access code that lets him into the port to pick up that specific container.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So I appreciate you filling in that gap. And you guys happen to have an office, like you have a presence down there in Savannah Port, don't you?
Yeah, we moved Tyler, one of our founding members and on the leadership team, volunteered about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that, to move down to Savannah. We saw Savannah as the fastest growing port in North America. We really liked our relationship with the Georgia Ports Authority because it was one terminal and they were fairly easy to deal with and pick up from. So we identified that as a market that we wanted to expand in. Instead of acquisition, we just did it organically. And Tyler was like, I'll go. So he went down, kind of, figured some stuff out, built some relationships. In December, we opened our transload warehouse. We now have a couple of drivers and some owner operators down there, and we're running a drayage and transload facility out of Savannah. And, I'll admit it was a little slow out of the gates the first couple of months, trying to figure yourself out and where you're going and how it all works. And, here we are, May 4th, and I think we're nearly at full capacity and the place is rocking.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, that's pretty awesome. Prayerfully, I'll be able to get out to the port to see that. It's been a while since I've been to Savannah. I'm talking about like high school. So now as a logistics professional, I do need to make my way to the port just to see what all the hype is all about, see how I can learn how to be more involved. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Congratulations on the growth. And I wanted to say this, or at least ask, why do you guys require the full 1 year? Is that like something specific? And when I ask that, it's because I own a dispatch company. Sometimes there is a little bit of, discretion in there.
I mean, for us, it's not like Port X or our management team saying that. It's insurance is so hard to get, as you've seen, and many of your members that are listening have seen. The requirements from an insurance company, whether it's how old the SCAC is, or the fact that in this day and age when there's a driver shortage, specifically in port work, and you can't hire somebody without 2 years of experience, or else you can't insure them, puts major handcuffs on our business and the marketplace in general. But it all comes from, the insurance providers of what they're willing to and not willing to accept from a risk perspective.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. I just wanted to ask because, Some brokerages do have some flexibility, but I do understand most of the time when it's a little bit more rigid, it is because of the insurance company that's behind everything. So I wanted to ask. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you guys have been going for about 5 years, and you hooked up with a company very early in your tenure, early after you got started, called Turvo. What has that relationship been and meant to the growth and success of your company?
Um, it's been really key. I looked at, I was obviously in the business before. I knew some TMS providers. I looked at a lot in the marketplace, and Turvo was for me, had the best user interface. It was collaborative. It had a driver app that was built in, so you didn't have to go to a third party like a Macro Point or Fork Heights. So those things drew me to them. The other thing was they only did straight truckload at the time, so it was point to point. It was not multimodal. It was not drayage, transloading, and trucking. They didn't have an integration to track vessels coming in from overseas. But I developed a relationship with one of the founders of Turvo, and I knew his aspirations of dealing with big companies like DHL and Ryder and others in the marketplace where he needed that multimodal exposure. I was like, Jeff, I know that PortX isn't your dream customer as a startup and we have no money, but you're looking to go down this path and I'm willing to go down it with you. Do you want to go down this road together and see if we can build out this multimodal operation or multimodal technology? So it was really about building a relationship, knowing what we wanted, the user interface and customer experience. We're always about customer experience. What do we want that to look like? And were you willing to take that risk on something that wasn't completely done in order for the end game to be exactly what you wanted? And we took a risk, and it has been a pivotal part of us growing our business.
Yes, sir, because now you have greater visibility from where the freight is originating from all the way down to your driver finishing that last mile to delivery to the end customer. And that's also a service that you guys can sell. Like, isn't that what you guys are doing? You also have you also sell the software, the visibility aspect to some other customers.
Yeah. So we don't charge anything. That is a value add. We absorb the cost. But what we offer as a trucking company or drayage provider, drayage 3PL, whatever you want to call us, I believe we're the only drayage provider in the United States and possibly the world that can help people track their cargo from origin port through destination port, through transload, and to delivery. So if you're a customer shipping a container from Shanghai to Atlanta, you can watch the vessel come all the way through the Pacific, through the Panama Canal, dock in Savannah, be transloaded. We upload photos of the transload at our warehouse, track the over the road all the way to delivery, unload, and POD, and it's all available in one spot. And it's available on multiple devices. So if you go on your computer or your smartphone, you open the app, you type in your container number, everything is right in front of you. So I call it the Google for containerized cargo.
Oh, that's awesome, man. If you throw in geofencing in there, I'm gonna have to sign up for my own account. So, but no, that's awesome, brothers. That's awesome. All right, so now we're in this spot in the market where everybody's saying things are shifting. We're on the precipice of the trucking bloodbath. Rates are declining, and demand is declining, or tender rejection is declining, which means we have truckers have less say in the actual rates that they are able to accept in order to do, whatever they were doing 6 months ago for a higher price. For you being a carrier and a broker, how do you feel about the situation right now? With all of the knowledge that you have, looking at things from a global perspective, do you feel as though we're about to hit another bloodbath, or what do you say?
I don't even think we're close. I think that, it used to be you were a global freight forwarder or you were a trucker. And now, after the pandemic and through the pandemic, I think you're part of the global supply chain. So the U.S. truckers are vital, and they're part of a global supply chain. The IPI, or inland point intermodal percentage, has gone from 30% to 21%. That means that containers that used to ride the rail from LA to Chicago or Savannah to Chicago and get locally delivered, 9% of those now are not, which 9% sounds like, oh, that's nothing. Well, 9% for me is estimated at 2.7 million containers or 2.7 million truckloads.
Wow.
So we've had a lot of things that have happened, from the Olympics, Chinese New Year, COVID lockdown, and there's been a lot of these imports that haven't quite churned their way through the system, which has caused a lot of the domestic demand to go down. And you look at it, I look at it, lane by lane. I saw something that came out from the JOC reporting DAT data and showing how the rates went down in the US. But they were talking in generalities. And I'll admit, LA and Seattle over the road rates have tanked. They are down. And that is directly related to the whole China situation. But East Coast, Southeast, rates have held in there pretty good. So we use something called SONAR from FreightWaves that allows us to see kind of in advance, like where we think Savannah is going to be 10 days out. So we get a little bit of a forecast and see where these containers are going to be coming into different markets and other markets that continue to dip. So I think truckers can be a little bit more savvy in using international data in order to position their trucks where they're going to get better paying freight and there's more demand. So that's one thing. And the second thing, the reason I say I don't think the market is tanking, when you've got 370 vessels in Shanghai that average 10,000 TEUs apiece, and a high percentage of them are coming to the U.S., it's just wait until they start landing, and these rates are going to start to go back up, especially with fuel prices. So I see this as a short-term blip and overreaction, and many people that are only in the trucking arena are not looking at the whole total global supply chain.
Well, I think that was very well said. And having that global visibility, being able to leverage that platform that FreightWaves has established, SONAR, that definitely gives you a different perspective, different analytics to pull from. And I would push people to, think about other ways to find where to position their trucks, so that, you can take advantage of where the market is meeting exactly what you're seeking. And SONAR is one of those things, or one of those tools that you can leverage to get that.
And shameful plug for us at PortX, but we publish that on our blog and LinkedIn every single week. So if you don't go to our blog, you don't go to our LinkedIn, you don't follow us, you should. We actually take the major ports in the U.S. and we publish that every single week for everyone's consumption. So you don't necessarily need SONAR yourself. You can just follow us, and we will, help you with that data, and then give you a little rationale behind what we think about that data.
Okay, got you. All right. Well, I think that's a good information to have. So I think everybody will definitely be able to find you guys on LinkedIn. at PortX Logistics to be able to follow for those insights. All right. So there were a couple other things that I did want to just briefly touch on. And one comes to, something that you guys have coming up in the next few months, something that I think is very, very exciting. What are you guys doing with the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center? And, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. Well, I live in Bozeman, Montana now, but I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, or outside of Buffalo, New York, and I'm still a Buffalo, New York homer. Roswell Park is a cancer institute in Buffalo, New York. Many of our team members, family members, early stage, early in life, 20s going through leukemia, to grandfathers having pancreatic cancer, to best friends having breast cancer. Many of our team members and family members have been affected by cancer, and we've been very fortunate, and successful. And, we talk about changing lives and giving back to the community. So, something that we're very proud of and is very important to us is supporting that community. And what we're doing is we are the primary sponsor for the Empire State Ride, which is where a group of riders travels from Long Island to Niagara Falls, New York, on bicycle, 500 miles. They each raise a minimum of $35,000. That's part of their sponsorship of getting it. So they're not paying it themselves, but they're raising money and donations. And they raise millions of dollars every year through the Empire State Ride. And this is our first year as the primary sponsor. We're very proud of it. And we've even got our young marketing guy, Jimmy, is volunteered to do the ride with the team and kind of video and photo and keep a chronicle of the whole thing. So he is currently in training in order to make the 500-mile ride along with all the other team members.
Man, I think the furthest I've ever ridden a bike in one setting, it might have been 15 miles, but so 500 going through the elements, different elevation. Jesus, I'm just going to pray for young Jimmy there because
I think it's six days that they spend, and at night when they pull over, there is a truck that goes along with them, but they have to sleep in a tent. So they go to like a campsite, sleep in a tent, get up the next day, and go another 100 miles.
Man, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity that most people don't get. So kudos to Jimmy. Maybe this will inspire something in me in the future. Who knows? But I definitely think that it's for a great cause, and I for sure wanted to bring it up because companies that are at your level, or you're projected to do 200 to 250 million, and for you to definitely make it a part to give back and be just charitable. I think that means a lot. A lot of people get lost in the sauce once they start making money. So if you guys are doing stuff like that, I'm very happy to highlight it. Outside of that, man, did you have anything that you wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about? I know that your platform on the technology side can do a lot more than what we really talked about in this small discussion. But anything that you wanted to mention to let the folks know that are going to hear this live or in the future, definitely here for it.
Yeah, I think, me getting started, just so everybody knows, I got started in this business when I was 19 and I was an intern. I had no aspirations of logistics or trucking or no visibility whatsoever. I needed a job. I was a poor kid that grew up on a dairy farm. I got an opportunity. I absolutely loved it. And I think the opportunities in logistics and supply chain is really big. And, people can take advantage of that. There's success to be had. I won't say money to be made because money to me is secondary. There's other things that define success. and dare to be bold. Like, I made these decisions when I was very young, which I was really lucky. Starting my first company when I was 23, my first logistics company. I was almost too naive to know what not know what I didn't know. I went, and between me and a partner, we took out $100,000 cash advance on credit cards, which I'm not recommending to anybody. But we believed in ourselves and what we could do, and we turned it into a super successful business. And in this day and age, 100,000 isn't really that much money. But just, be bold, believe in yourself and make it happen, because we have a lot of opportunities in supply chain and logistics. And I think there's definitely more opportunities in this line of work than there would be in accounting or retail or you name it. So, it might not look glamorous from the outside looking in, but it's an awesome space to be in, and do your best to take advantage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for those wise words. I did want to go ahead and open the stage up. Do you mind if we spend the next few minutes answering questions from people in the audience?
I love it.
All right. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the first person that raised their hand up. If that brother's available, please go ahead and join. All right. So we did. Hey, what's up, Kirk? How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I appreciate this room. I love the information. I like to be a fly on the wall whenever I come into these rooms, even though I'm usually moderators in a couple other rooms as well. But you never stop learning, and I appreciate all the info that you guys dropped, all the gems you guys dropped. Brian, I appreciate everything, the knowledge that you brought with. So I appreciate that. The question I had was, I'm actually in trucking as well. Been in this field for 3 years. I'm also registered with UIIA, $1 million policy as far as insurance. I have 4 units. My question is, as far as getting direct contracts with the port, that's where I stumble on getting direct ship lines contracts. Mm-hmm. Any way you could speak on that? Point me in the right direction. I could tap in with you on the back channel if you need be for you to walk me through that process. But can you speak on that if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm going to be brutally honest, and I don't think it's necessarily in most people's best interest to get hooked up with the ports/steamship lines. Not that the ports are bad. The steamship lines are notoriously bad payers, low fuel surcharges, kind of cheap. There's other companies out there and other avenues to get freight and get consistent freight. And whether it's myself or competitors or freight forwarders, there's other avenues and other channels to get hooked up with good paying freight. And cash flow is king in this business. And I would assume as a guy with 4 operators or 4 units that he's operating, like, you can't wait 60 and 90 days to get paid and nickel and dimed and jerked around on your payments. So, I would be more than happy if you emailed me or got me on LinkedIn, whatever the case might be, to give you our contact information for our people who could help you out getting some freight, and even giving you, some of our competitors in the marketplace. There's plenty of freight to go around, and we're probably the place to get it, because the legal bureaucracy, the insurance requirements, and the relatively low pay isn't necessarily the best with the steamship lines.
Hey, I appreciate the info. I definitely followed you. I'm gonna reach out to you. Hopefully, we could help each other out as far as that aspect of it. I do have 4 dry vans, and those are what we're running right now. I'm just trying to see if I could diversify a little bit as far as getting into the port aspect, and then later on probably I don't know, flatbeds or something. I'm just trying to figure out ways to diversify in this slow market. Makes sense?
Diversification is great. And if you get into the global supply chain with the containers and the dry vans and or flatbeds, you get the drayage move, you get the over-the-road move, you get both, and you could use somebody, whether it's us or somebody like us, we'll do the transload on your behalf, and then you run the whole thing, and you get both pieces of the pie, and you're not just beholden to the over-the-road market after the fact. So I think your outset and what you're looking at and how you're looking to do it is perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely tap in with you. I appreciate the info, Brian.
You got it.
All right, Kirk, thank you so much for coming up to the stage, brother.
No problem.
Now, hey, yeah, no doubt, brother. Christy, what's up now? Christy Boo, it's been a while.
Jory, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm feeling blessed, madam. Yourself?
I'm doing great. This is a great conversation. Brian, I have truly enjoyed hearing about your business, your perspective, a little bit about myself. I am a broker agency focusing specifically on drayage. I do a little bit of everything. So this is a topic near and dear to my heart. So I am extremely impressed with your multimodal technology that you're offering, because the TMS systems that are out here today are not catered at all to intermodal or drayage in any way, shape, or form. So we always have to do extra work to be able to follow and track and have that data that we can rely on to be able to keep up with our movements. So that is really interesting to me, and I think that's incredible.
Well, that's awesome to hear. I mean, there's some other ones out there in the marketplace that, Turvo is not the only one, but what we liked for the multimodal, and there's other ones out there too, like a Quantum Edge out of Memphis, who's very good on the drayage side. I don't think their user interface is as nice, and there's Trinium is one that is popular on the West Coast. So those are other drayage specific platforms too, just to pimp out that I've looked at. But in our multimodal drayage, transloading, and trucking piece, Turvo is just the one for us.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. The broker whose authority I'm operating under, I'm basically I'm pretty much the only person who does drayage. So I got to make it work for myself. So, but that was extremely impressive. I did want to clarify, Jory, you asked a question, or you brought something up earlier about brokers who also have carrier authority and utilize that carrier authority to pin when assigning loads to carriers through their brokerage. And those brokers are really the carrier side, who the brokers who are utilizing the carrier authority to pin for other carriers who are not registered with UIIA. From my understanding, the carrier side is in violation of their UIIA agreement when they do that. So I just wanted to clarify for those out there, because there are some out there who do. And, oh, Lord, I am not the drayage police. I say that all the time. But it's just, be aware that they're in violation of their UIIA agreement when they pin, when they allow their broker side to utilize their pin access. Technically, well, not even technically, the motor carrier, or excuse me, the driver who shows up to pick up a container or pull a container from a port or a rail must belong to the carrier who pinned it and be placarded as such. It's kind of a slippery slope. Well, not a slippery slope. It's one of those things where sometimes you slide through and it's no problem, and sometimes there's issues, because essentially those people who operate the gates, or who work the gate at the ramp or at the port, they're the ones who would be conscious of that or notice that, and they are third parties. And so it just depends on who's at the gate, on those carriers who catch a load from a broker who's pinning it for them, because these carriers are not registered with UIIA. At times there could be issues where they're stuck and they can't get a box back in the port, or or they can't pull one out or whatever. So it's just something to be conscious of. When you mentioned it, I'm like, oh no, red flag, don't do that.
Yeah, I know you are 100% correct. So if we go to Savannah, which is the port with the pins, that's where it is, right? So if we're brokering out a drayage load, it would go to our partners. Our partners would request the pin the day before if they're picking up a box on our behalf. If our own driver is going in, we request the pin under the PortX SCAC code to get that pin to allow our driver in. So you're 100% correct. There's a direct definition between our own driver and somebody that we would broker out. The one thing that I will say on the other end, I like to look at the customer end of it. For me, my customer does not care if I'm picking up the box or if ABC Trucking is picking up the box. They just need to know that where is the box? Has it been picked up? Can I track the driver? Is it delivered? But you are 100% correct that you want to be cognizant of that and not necessarily giving pins out to other companies to go pick up your containers.
Right, exactly, and I'm glad you clarified that point as well. And the one thing, when you utilize your SCAC code, and I know you're aware of this, Brian, but this is more for the other the listeners. You're responsible. You're responsible for the per diem charges. You're responsible for the chassis that's associated with your SCAC code. So when you give that out and you utilize it, and you're giving it to a carrier. Like on the broker side, you're utilizing your motor carrier authority and utilizing that SCAC code to pin that box. If that carrier doesn't get the box back in, or if that carrier does whatever they do, Brian, you already, your carriers have to have at least a year active authority. And so you obviously do your vetting process so that, but if that carrier doesn't, then you're stuck with that bill. That could be $150
and it's a lot
more.
Of money. It's a lot of, like, if you don't return a container for 2 months because you forgot about it, you lost it, whatever.
I've had that happen twice.
Yeah, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars in some instances. And we've had that. It happens. It falls through the cracks, and you're on the hook.
Right, absolutely. And so I just wanted to clarify that, and I'm glad you helped clarify as well for the carriers out there who aren't registered with UIIA, who may catch, they want to get it on the port work, but they don't have that registration, but they see a broker posting and the broker's willing to pin, there's those issues, and also those new brokers will also have carrier authority, or those carriers who are tempted to utilize their PIN access to help someone out or whatever. There's a lot of liability. There's a lot of exposure there when you do that, and that money adds up real fast. One container can just take you down.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that, Christy. And for short form, the folks who don't have if you're a carrier, you're interested in doing port work, I think I don't want to oversimplify the process, but if I'm going to leave it into 3 things: get your SCAC code, costs less than $100, get that endorsement on your insurance to UIIE1, and lastly, go ahead and register with the UIIA so that they can, go ahead and put that SCAC code up there and say that you are eligible to get on that port. Did I miss anything, Christy or Brian?
I don't think so.
I think you pretty much summed it up well, Jory.
Appreciate you. Kurt, did you have another question, brother?
Yeah, I was just gonna add. Yeah, you definitely summed it up. A lot of people I notice out there that are charging people thousands of dollars to set up a UIA. It's really simple. Carriers could actually set it up themselves. Do it the right way. The only thing ship lines definitely will crest you, have something where like $1 million policy, stuff like that. But it's very easy to set up, get your SCAC code, all that stuff. I had it set up for 2 years now, and everything you guys said, I definitely say, yeah, everything is correct.
Gotcha. And I guess just to follow up on what Kirk was asking earlier, BK, Another person did want to know this. If they were a carrier and, they wanted to have more autonomy, more control over their ability to get freight, containers, and know when they're going to have capacity versus, it being a third party, and they had the ability to front the costs up front. Do you think that it would be beneficial to, build that relationship with a steamship? If you have the money and cash is king, but you have the cash, would it be beneficial then?
I don't think so. I just don't think they pay very well. I think steamship lines are starting to get out of the drayage business. They're doing less and less what they call door moves. Some, like Maersk, are buying 3PLs, like Performance Group out west, Pilot Air Freight, so they're trying to get more integrated in it. But in general, I would say steamship lines are trying to remove themselves from direct delivery. They only want to do port-to-port work, which means you've got to get relationships with your freight forwarders and your beneficial cargo owners in order to secure that freight. And, I guess the one thing, if you want repeat contract, repetitive type freight that you can count on, and you are going to a freight forwarder level, I call it desk level Donnie. You can't be after the guy that's brokering one load at a time. You need to work with a key account manager type that is dealing with a specific customer that needs a specific solution.
Right. All right. Well, that portion right there definitely makes sense. And, it sounds like relationships are key to everything in this business. If that has not already been, ascertained, please take heed to that now. But that's essentially our show for tonight. I don't think we had any more hands. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and turn hand raising off. I want to just
Brian,
say, BK, brother.
George, one more thing, George. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Hey, Brian, I just checked your profile. I was going to try to reach out to you, but it doesn't have your information in there. Do you mind putting in the messaging how to reach out to you as far as your email, that type of stuff?
No, not a problem at all. I will try to figure that out, and if I don't do it appropriately, Jory will have it at it's BK at portxlogistics.com. So you've heard it verbally, and I'll try to get it in the messaging as well.
All right, cool. Right, I know this Clubhouse thing is kind of difficult, just trying to figure your way around it. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, Kirk, thank you so much. And Brian, just real quickly, if you click on your profile and, just tap right below where your name is, it'll open up. And then you can type whatever you want, and it'll update in real time. But moving beyond that, I did just want to say again, BK, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise here on stage, letting us know about PortX Logistics, the things that you guys have been able to accomplish in less than 5 years is definitely inspirational and aspirational for the folks who are moving and shaking. So thank you. And at the end of the day, everybody for the support of the Transportation and Logistics Clubhouse over the last year and a half. I'm very appreciative. I have started posting these conversations, these discussions. If you're interested, go to transportationandlogistics.club. You can also find this bad boy on everywhere that they have podcasts. So you just search for transportation and logistics. And probably if you put Clubhouse in there, it'll be the only one. Next week's show, we're going to have somebody that's very near and dear to, my heart. I appreciate her so much. She's doing things that most folks don't do. She got a warehouse. She started as a carrier. She has her own NASCAR. Who has that? So I can't wait to highlight her and her organization. And then, if you need anything in the meantime, just reach out to me. I'm very accessible. I'm always here to help. And I guess last but not least, check us out on Mondays at 7:30. We partner up with the Sonar team from FreightWaves to let you know where to send your trucks and the places that you will want to avoid if possible. So BK, again, man, you have a blessed day.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate you having me. Thanks, Jory.
Yes, sir. All right, now. Peace.